So on that token, welcome, welcome, welcome. The first author gets the big anvil on his shoulders, but I know he's going to be handling it well. Is Mr. Kasra Kooshafar and his book Realizations. I gotta tell you all, I talked to this guy for about half an hour the first time we were on the phone. I'm like, dude, where do you live? I gotta know. Turns out he lives down the street from me, okay? Of course, like it just worked out that way and we just had a really good vibe and everything. Kaz with Love, as he's known in social media, multifaceted writer and poet, self-published book Realizations, part of many artistic organizations, a member of Posey. He's looking to broaden the boundaries of poetry and self-expression and to be an inspiration to other fellow writers and artists. So I'm letting you know, check out his podcast, check out his social media. Really excited to hear what he has to say. So without further ado, Kasra, you got the floor.
Thank you. I don't need to use the mic, right?
No, I just,
okay?
And for everybody who's speaking today, you could choose to use the mic. I decided not to, but you can just run with it.
Okay. I think it's a good enough space, and I think I could project enough for you guys to hear me. I do want to say a few things, of course. Thank you to absolutely Jonathan for putting this together, because myself as well, every time I came, whether it was to just look around into Alternity or grab a drink or stock books, it was always like, these are such cool and interesting people. And to be a part of that, I would always take a picture and I would always like share it on social media to be like, I get to be a part of the local artists here. And I find that being in this city, I was raised here, but looking at other cities like New York and Los Angeles, even Montreal, where they have a huge creative, spiritual art scene, it always made me think, well, where does Toronto fit in this? And so when I was writing my book, my whole thought process was, I don't really want to give away the control and kind of creative control to a publisher. I mean, I didn't really know exactly what that process looked like. I just knew it was filled with rejection. I don't have a problem with rejection, but I just felt, I don't feel like waiting years upon years where this idea might not even come into fruition. So I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take this endeavor all by myself. I'm gonna do the writing, which was the easy part. Most people think it's the hard part. That's the easy part. And once that was done and I got to editing, designing the book, and diving into Adobe InDesign and realizing how much I hate my life because of it, and then now I love it, but then every step of the process when it came to, okay, well, the book's almost designed. How do I get this to people? I don't want to put it on Amazon. I didn't want to do like a Kindle audiobook version of it because a physical book was very important for me. So then it was like, all right, I got to create a website. That was another step of the way. Then I'm like, okay, now I have to market and distribute it. I know there are bookstores in the city, and also that's when I got into actually performing poetry. And when I got into that space, I came to the realization, no pun intended, that we're all within these creative bubbles and everybody's doing their own thing. You get into a certain space, you know, like this, for example, look how many people are here. You go into the next event and there's something else, an open mic or whatever else going on, a whole ton of other people. And I remember speaking to a fellow poet at one of the events where I do on the spot poetry. And he was like, why don't we try our best to connect everyone? You know, everybody's in their bubble. Maybe one of the reasons why cities like New York that's so progressed in their creative communities is because they've been able to bring it together. And so I think what you've done, Jonathan, is a huge step in that, to bring everybody together. And, you know, instead of competing as creatives, we can have a community where we all can succeed. I went to a therapy session, Dundas West, and after the session, you know, you got to take a little walk and get the thoughts out. I started to hit these random thrift stores. And when I hit one of them, the guy was like, hey, by the way, he's like, hey, by the way, here's a little card. Here's all the thrift stores in this neighborhood. These are the names. Hit up every single one. I was like, that's so interesting. In my head, I saw everybody like competing as a business, whereas they've came together and are like, instead of competition, you know, when you step into my store, why not I recommend the next person? because maybe we don't have it, but the next does, or vice versa. And so it's, when you came to me about this event, I thought it was a beautiful idea because I'm usually the odd one in my spaces where it's like, oh, you write, you have a book, well, that's amazing, unheard of. But here, it's like everybody's like myself, everybody's creative, everybody's spiritual, everybody has their own book. And I'm very excited to hear what everybody else's process is like. I will say that this journey to get this book has not only allowed me to be confident in myself and my abilities, but also to put myself in spaces that I never thought I would be in. And my life trajectory has completely changed. It went from, I guess I like to write, to now I can call myself a professional writer. And I think to be here amongst even better writers like yourselves is truly an honor. So thank you everyone for showing up. Thank you everyone for being who you guys are. I'm excited to see what you guys have to say. I'm excited to hear what Jonathan has to say about his own book. That's kind of it.
But your book, what is it about?
Okay, yes. So the book is, it started off not as a book. It started off as an idea to write for 365 days every day. It actually got inspired by Atomic Habits. I don't know who's read that book. Very powerful book. But when I read that book, I was like, okay, a page a day. Let's see where that takes me. And about a quarter way in, the idea sort of became these daily realizations. I always struggled with writing every day because how do you capture every thought, every emotion? Just no way. But then when I started to do this, I was like, it doesn't matter about all the thoughts and emotions. You just need to capture one a day. So whenever the poetry gods hit me for that day, I would capture what I thought. And about a quarter way in, I was like, maybe this can actually become a book. Maybe like this can turn into something. So I kind of kept that idea in mind. And as it progressed, I started to realize that it wasn't just a creative journey. I was actually realizing who I was as a person. And writing wasn't just a hobby at that point. It was like, this is my life's purpose. And you could see that. So there's 3 chapters. The first one's called The Knowing. So it's about, what do I know about the world? What do I know about myself? And then it turned into The Becoming. It was like, let me become this person that I think I am. And then the third chapter, it was called The Ascension, which was like basically rising above it and not just becoming it, but being it. And the chapters were divided into 3 journals that I went through. So I physically have 3 journals that the book was like composed in. And towards the end, I'll try not to drag this on too much. Towards the end, I came to a point where I'm like, how the hell do I end this? Like, I could write every day for the rest of my life and there won't be an ending. How do you conclude your life's journey? And initially I'm like, okay, well, maybe the book sells out and I become this world-renowned writer. And I was like, that can't be it. There's no way. Is it a new job? None of those were it. And I won't give the ending in case anybody wants to read it, but there came to a point where it was exactly as it was meant to be. And the ending, I'll say a quote by Albert Camus, which he says in The Myth of Sisyphus. I don't know if anybody's read that book, where he says, he's like, usually the last page of a book is contained within the first pages of it. And so when I was writing it, I remember I was at this park in like Midtown, and I was like, that's it right there. Like, it's connecting to the beginning. And so the book eventually I put together. I used a picture of my old apartment where I used to take pictures of the sunrise and sunsets because it was like north and south facing, so you could see both. So I used the cover of that because that was like a phase where I loved sunsets. I still do. And then I went through hell and back to put the book together, and it's done phenomenal, like way beyond my wildest imagination. And this was like, it was written 4 years ago, came out 2 years ago, but now I'm at a point where I'm writing the next one. And who knows what that has in store for me. So, yeah, yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for listening.
We're going to play Pass the Baton. You can clip this one on. Thank you very much, Cass. Part of the thinking I had before today's event was I was looking at the books there and I thought to myself, I don't want to read any of their books before I actually meet them, hear them, and I'll see it so differently. And after speaking with you on the phone and now seeing you in person, my thought now is the same thought I had when we first spoke was if the world is filled with more Kasras, the world would be a much better place. So thank you for bringing your energy into our universe.